I knew nothing about technology. I am so bad when it comes to technology. And because it just feels like you're never going to learn something new, especially when you get older. You think, this is not for me. I cannot do this on my own. But I've learned how to, it took me longer than usual, I have to say that. And it's frustrating, but I've learned to be patient about it, and I've learned to keep trying. So the technicality to make the podcast sound great and have a quality of professionalism, I'm still working on. We're only 7 episodes in, so I'm getting better every time. I can do the editing part, I can do music, additional music. I still have to learn how to fade in and fade out, which is really difficult. And another thing that I appreciate is that the people that I trust when it comes to their opinions, because I don't trust a lot of people, to be honest, they've given me some feedback, and some of the feedback are very similar. They're ones I recognized in what I've been having to work all along in my life for many years. And those are that I have to find a structure. There's got to be more of a structure to the episodes. And then I thought, well, the same way that inside the actor studio with James Lipton, the late James Lipton, he passed away. May God rest his soul in peace. He had the most amazing idea of a show, and for him to do inside the actor studio, but nobody thought that people were going to tune in or care about the actor's process, and people were mistaken because they did, and the show became so much nominated, and he became a celebrity just because he had an idea and he went with it. He executed it. He didn't let people believe that. He didn't let people drive him not to do it or take away his enthusiasm or knowledge of what he knew. And I think that's what a visionary is. So he was a visionary. So pretty much what I want this podcast to be is I am comparing it to Inside the Actor Studio, but I am basing my knowledge on knowing the craft based on the foundation of my 20-some years of teaching, acting, in between. So I'm not in my 20s where I'm trying to convince people that I know what I'm talking about. I'm later in my life, having had workshops internationally, having worked on the stage of the actor studio for 20 years as a lifetime member, having had to adjust the work to the different countries that I visited, to the different people that I visited. I've taught classes to people who are actors. I've taught classes to people who are directors. I've worked on sets with directors who hired me as an acting coach to be there for the rehearsal process and to be there during the shoot. We worked on the script even. We enriched the script. We found details. We found complex choices within the script that I remember the writer came to us and he was so pleased and said, I did not even know that that's what I wrote in my script, because he already had written some of the findings that we brought to light, but they were somewhere underneath, and we just had to, as a combination, the two of us collaborating together with the actors, we brought to light those choices and those complex human traits that were already there, but they were a little bit hidden. So the whole process of what an acting coach does and what I have done in my 20-year career is giving me the foundation and the confidence that I stand on. And on top of that, what I want to do with it from now on, I want to have the questions that are going to be the same ones to all the guests that we're going to have starting now. They're very known questions that you ask. I think I'm trying to give myself a structure to where I want to go with the podcast. And another thing that I want to focus on is I want to try to remember. I wish I would have written everything down because there's so many things that happen and so many people that I got to know since I came in New York and since I've been a member of the Actor Studio, and I've learned so many lessons on that stage. No matter how many times I got up on the stage and I failed, I remember sitting in my apartment and I said to myself, if I don't go back now, I will never go back to the actor studio. And I remember I was so scared of going back and working, but I did. I made I called them and I said, I want to sign up the next available time that you have. I would like to sign up to work in session. And I went back and I kind of got my dignity back. And I actually spoke back. I actually stood up for myself. Where the first time I felt like I was tied with my hands back. The way that I was feeling, it was as if I was tied with my hands back. The next time, I gave myself the permission to say, they're the ones that keep bringing up the fact that when you become a member of the actor studio, everybody becomes equal. Because the commercial aspect of it is not being taken in. So it's only about the artistic, the work. Everybody's equal. But that was a lesson learned, because it took me about 2 to 3 years to realize that I actually can turn that around and give myself the opportunity to look at it from a different perspective and see that I was such a strong person to actually stand up for myself in front of a person who's like a very known person in America. I mean, here I am, a little big now, but from a little girl in Romania, in a small village in Transylvania, and I come to New York and I barely know who I am, and I end up as a member of the actor studio. I mean, this is crazy. For the first time auditioning, they say there's like thousands of people who audition only a few get in. And also there's sayings about Dustin Hoffman having to audition I don't know how many times, 7 times. Or another thing that I want to do for the podcast is I want to give an example of one of the tools. I keep talking about the powerful tools of the method. The beginning one is the relaxation, and people understand the relaxation has to do with meditation. So they say, it's like, I know meditation. Relaxation is not meditation for actors. Relaxation for actors is the activation of the senses. The senses, which are the tools that in everyday life, without thinking about, subconsciously use them in order to live, in order to protect ourselves from things around us. We go by a stove and we know not to put the hand on the flame because we're going to burn ourselves. But it doesn't mean that when we turn on the stove, we think about it exactly moment to moment to moment, how we're going to go about not putting the hand on the flame. As an actor, you have to rehearse all of the everyday things that you do as a human being. You have to rehearse them, because you have to then be able to, with all that rehearsal, go on the stage or go in front of a camera, and you have to allow your senses to guide you to live as you would off stage or when the camera was off. So relaxation, mental relaxation, body relaxation, those are the most important doors to get into living truthfully, living without showing off, living without pretending, living without acting on stage or on set. Relaxation is the way that you practice it at home. You can be sitting in a chair, find a position that's comfortable, but not a position where you're going to fall asleep. A comfortable position that you could fall asleep, but you don't want to fall asleep, because it's about work. Relaxed in the chair, make sure that the lower back is being sustained so you don't hurt yourself. You can even move and just around in circles, your shoulders, your arms, your head, drop it, just to get yourself to find the muscles in your body, the legs, concentrating from the feet all the way to the top of your head. Focus on your breathing. In, out your mouth, into your nose, out your mouth. As soon as you feel that something in your leg, like right now my left leg is a little bit numb, you move it again, because you don't want to get numbness. It means that you're not relaxed enough. Breathe into your nose, out your mouth, and then I want you to imagine that there's a green light that's bringing peace to your body and to your soul and to your mind. So imagine that light massaging the top of your head. Imagine a balloon of green light. It's almost like under your skin. It's massaging the brain and anything else that you feel that's needed to be release of tension. And you keep breathing while that's happening. I'm only using my hand because I want you guys to kind of have more of a concept of what's happening. Imagine the light coming down to your forehead, eyebrows, moving back and forth, relaxing your forehead, your temples. And in order to feel sometimes what the difference is between the tension and then the relaxation, you can also tense up, try to make the separation between these parts of your body that you're going to pinpoint to and you're going to relax. So imagine that you're actually just, and hold it like that, tense it up, tense it up, tense it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then release. Through that relaxation, the tension being gone, the expressions and emotions come out, because all of those emotions that we keep inside of ourselves are covered by the facade of tension. So when you let go of it, the relaxation will allow for all of your inner life to be able to give way through the facade and come to light. Breathe in and out. An additional thing that's very helpful, because we're so afraid of making the sounds with our voice. We're so stuck. We are so told not to speak, or that we have nothing to say that's right, since the time that we're children, that we're afraid to make sound. So imagine breathing in through your nose, and then when you release the tension from any part of your body that you choose to go to, you release the tension, making the sound. Still working on the relaxation, but it's active. With everything that's been going on, the last 3 years in our lives have been like really scary. Everybody was afraid of the coronavirus and dying. People that we know in our lives passed on. That comes back to my mind right now, and that comes back because I've relaxed. My body's recalling some of the events that have happened. They were very powerful. Relax, breathe in, give yourself permission to make the sound, which is really difficult. When I instruct and I guide my actors to do it, they keep the voice being very low because they're afraid of it. I'm getting a little bit emotional. It's the beginning of tears in my eyes right now, because at the same time that I'm thinking of the people that I lost in my life, I'm also grateful for some of the things that have happened recently. So thank you, God. Thank you, universe, for all that's good that you've given me. And just because something that's positive and out of this world, incredible, and you have somebody in your mind whom you adore and whom you value and cherish and applaud, and it doesn't mean that you can be having tears at the acknowledgement of how grateful you are. So you can have tears when you think of loss, but you can also have tears when you think of how grateful you are for gains in your life. That's why when somebody tells you, director who's a bad director, and they tell actors, I think the character will be crying in this scene, going to emotions and just figuring out that a character would do this or that kind of an emotion is such a bad way to go about discovering who the characters that you're playing as actors are. I think when you focus much more on what is it that you want as a character, what is it that you are grateful for as a character, getting to know that character and the backstory and the childhood, and what are their wants and desires, what does it mean for them if they get the goals, going about it in a script analysis way and trying to figure out every detail about that human being, because those characters are human beings, rather than guide someone to have emotions, which majority of the directors do because they don't have a concept of what the actor's process is completely not going to give you the best results out of those actors, no matter how amazing the actors are. It takes somebody who is very confident to say, I do know how to be a director, but I need somebody to help me work with my actors. Crazy. So yeah, sometimes you have to admit that you don't know. And admitting that you don't know, there's so much that you're going to come out with. It's incredible because it's hard to do that because we're all conditioned to not have people think that we are stupid, which not knowing doesn't mean that you're stupid. It just means that you have a lot to learn. What an amazing thing to know that there's always like something else that you can gain. But anyway, so that was the beginning of the relaxation exercise. And imagine if you go through all of that I've showed you, gone from like the top of my head, I'm pointing, to under my nose. So we relax this part. Imagine having to take like about an hour, I would say, to go through every part of your body. And that relaxation will produce so much emotion. It's unbelievable. People will start crying, others will start singing. The tension is such a facade and it's such a obstacle to letting our inner life emerge. It would be better to try it with an acting coach in a classroom in a safe environment. You can call me and I can